I love that right there. Figure out your why, figure out what you want, write it down, and look for that. Don't try to make a system fit what you want. Look for the system that works with you.
Be the change you want to see. Make a difference by giving your money a purpose, a mission to do good. Welcome to Money with Mission, where we show you how to create passive income so that you have options for how to work and how to live your life while leaving a legacy of positive social impact.
Hey, you guys, welcome back to Money with Mission. Today I have something different. We're going to talk to Amanda Hill, who is an attorney, not about suing people or that kind of thing. Well, we may get there, but I don't think we will, but about how to make the best of your practice and be the best in the practice that you have. You know how my slant is, have money coming in from other places so you can work the way you want. Amanda's going to help us get to where we want in the practice that we have. Welcome to the show, Amanda. I'm excited to talk to you.
Thank you. This is my favorite thing, to talk to doctors. So I'm super excited.
So exciting. So you started your practice, Guard My Practice. What got you to that point?
Well, I've been a healthcare lawyer for 23 years. So all I do is represent physicians. It's been a really good, lucrative business. But it was in the middle of COVID, I think, that something really changed. I started getting doctors calling me and they were done. They were burned out, they were fried, they were tired. They were just done with the bureaucracy. They didn't want to mess with it anymore. I mean, tears. It was not great. And all of a sudden I started thinking, I don't really want to die with all this knowledge in my head. Mm-hmm. And I don't need to sound morbid, but that's literally what came to my mind. Mm-hmm. Is all this knowledge that I have built and to help doctors is just going to go in the dirt. And so I had this vision of starting this company where I started doing training videos, and everything I thought that could hurt a doctor, I made a video about it. And so that's been a real exciting new adventure for me, to create all these training videos, try to figure out how to package it and sell it and get it in the doctor's hands. If I could just go across the country and teach, for my second half of my life, practicing law has been really good, but I don't want doctors to have to go pay $500 an hour and consistently have to call their lawyer every single time something comes up. We need to be able to empower a doctor to negotiate for themselves, to be empowered, to understand basic fraud and abuse things that can hurt them. Yeah. So at least they can issue spot. I mean, that's half the battle, right? Yes. So they can avoid problems. And then when they do have an issue, of course, there's always a role for lawyers. We're never going to go away, but it shouldn't be the first step.
Well, I appreciate what you just said, because one of the things that I think we often miss is we don't even know when we need to ask somebody about something. So even just having some knowledge about, this is a little different. Maybe I should call and ask if this is okay. And most of the time we're just running and thing after thing after thing. And it's not until something big happens that we think we need to talk to an attorney.
Right.
Interesting.
Well, I think a lot of doctors, speaking of your mission, a lot of doctors want passive income. It's a huge issue. They want to say, I want to work less. I'm tired of the rat race. I want to get other income coming in. And yet it's all on the same level playing field. All the different side passive income opportunities seem the same to them. When one, in my opinion, might be extremely risky and they should definitely get legal review, where another one is very benign and it's perfectly fine. And so what I'm trying to do is to say, not all of them are the same. If you're going to get side income, make sure that these types of deals you pay close attention to, right? Because those can hurt you. Mm-hmm. And I always like to say, nobody looks good in orange, regardless if your skin's right. So don't risk it. Don't get into a situation where you're doing an anti-kickback thing without even realizing it. So we got to issue spot better.
Yes. And orange is not the new black when it comes to real life. Maybe on whatever platform that was on, but
that's right.
When you came out of law school, you went right into healthcare, becoming a healthcare attorney?
Oh, that's a funny story, which just a quick side note. I got into law school. I wanted to be a federal prosecutor and a federal judge, like hardcore, right? Like, I'm going to go clerk for the Supreme Court. I'm going to do all the things. And quickly, I realized that when I moved to a certain town, that didn't have that potential job opportunity, I had to go find a job. So the first job I could find in this little town I lived in called Waco, Texas, which now is sort of famous for the Chip and Joanna, but back then, like a dot on the map, you stopped in for a hamburger on the way from Austin to Dallas. But my husband at the time was going to law school there. So we had to live in Waco, Texas for 2 years. And I thought, where am I going to get a job here? So I found a job at the Department of Veterans Affairs And they listed the job, and I'll be quick, but they listed the job for a 10-year experienced lawyer. And me, little hotshot, coming out of law school thinking I'm something, I applied for it and they laughed. And I went in for the interview anyway. I think just out of pity, they interviewed me. And anyway, they ended up hiring me. I still had paint on my arm for like painting our new house because we had just gotten married and just moved there. So they gave me this entry-level job. And all of a sudden I was reading medical records and trying to, my very first case was like an extravasation, I don't know how you say that, of a IV contrast in someone's arm.
Okay.
And I fell in love. I fell in love with working for doctors and I never looked back. I changed the whole course of my career. I went into healthcare. I started representing physicians. I realized very quickly they need a strong, powerful advocate. Doctors do. And I never went against them a day in my life. And here I am 23 years later.
Working to help us understand things even better, not just in a lawsuit situation, which is really amazing. So when we were off camera, we were talking about negotiations and negotiating and leverage, which are always things I talk about in real estate investing. And I think we as physicians, and especially many women physicians, do not think they have any leverage when they're going in to start in a new practice. We get out of residency, it was like, we're so happy, we're finally going to be making some money. I can start paying off these loans. You sign whatever's put in front of you without really thinking about what you're giving away. So let's talk about how we should be looking at those things and how it would make your life so much better if you did look at that from the beginning to understand what you're getting into.
I would love to. So I will say, and not to be sexist, but mostly females are bad about standing up for what they truly are worth. And leverage is a big one. I'm teaching a course right now I was talking about, and we spent an entire, evening only talking about leverage. And I started really asking the people in the course, like, what do you think your leverage truly is? And what do people say? They read their CV. Well, I went to this school. I have this training. I worked here. It's like, no. Everybody is on the same level. Everybody's graduated from health school, went to residency, has the degree, has the credentials. What about you? What do you bring to this table that nobody else that's interviewing for this job can bring? And I started listing off these examples, and I think the doctors were really dumbfounded at the things I was mentioning, right? Like, these are complete examples, but are you really good with people in a specialty? There's mostly jerks. That is leverage, right? You can say, look, I have great relationships with patients. I can bond with a female in a cardiology setting in a way that a male cannot. And these women really want a female cardiologist, for example. Or I'm really great with EMR and charting. A lot of people drags them down. Not me. I'm really fast at it. I'm good at it. Or I'm involved in this national committee and I have this passion for ADD. And so if I'm a pediatric surgeon, I understand this issue in a way that most people don't. So I can offer something to the table, and I specialize in this thing that no one does. I mean, you can just go on and on and on trying to find leverage to where I wrote an email just yesterday on behalf of a client who was about to take, an insanely low salary. And what she said to me is, well, I'm just working part-time. Well, I'm just. If you say I'm just in front of anything, you just need to slash that from your vocabulary. You're not I'm just. You are this. You're amazing. You have all these skills. So her practice was being bought out. They renegotiated her contract. And she's like, I don't really have any leverage. Wrong. You always have leverage. Yes. So I said, so let me get this straight. So you're the doctor that's remaining. You're the consistent factor that patients trust. You're the linchpin and the cornerstone of how this place is going to go from the old to the new. You establish credibility in a pretty small town where people trust you, and you think you have no leverage? And she was like, oh, I think you're right. We got her $30,000 more just by making those arguments. Wow. And so if you want to get more money where you are today, then you need to know what your value is in the job, and you need to put it forth, not in a bossy way. Doctors, sometimes they take a message like this the wrong way. And what they do is they start going in there going, she's right. And then you can come across as bossy and domineering and money grabbing. And that's not going to get you anywhere. You have to rephrase it and think of things like, I always joke around, doctors start with excitement. I am so excited to work for you and to make you the preeminent, hospital group. And to add this value and to continue doing this really great, high quality work that I do, I'm going to be in market. And this is what market is. And it looks like it's just fallen a bit, but this is what it's going to take to get back to market and for me to continue to be this amazing team member for you. That's not bossy. That's not a money grab. That's just saying, hey, we're not caught up with the times.
Yes. And sometimes the negotiation is about your time, not necessarily about the money. So if you want, well, why not negotiate both? I'm what you just said, and this is how much money, and this is how much time I want back in my life. So
Yep.
both of those things to me are big negotiating things that we don't do. I never thought about it, honestly. I've been in practice over 30 years and I just signed contracts. We just said this is what it is
Right.
until I till recently. And now I'm in no, I'm going to do this and I'm only going to do this. And this is how much you're going to pay me, or I can go do something else. It's kind of this.
Well, you get to that point where you all of a sudden you realize you have freedom and you have power, because I tell you the biggest lie you're going to hear as a doctor is, oh, I'm sorry, we don't negotiate. It just is what it is. You have to sign it. And I'm like, I would not be in business if that were the case. I would not have over 500 clients if I didn't get anything negotiated. It is a lie. And if all doctors could just stop taking that to heart and say, well, I understand this is a template, of course, and you don't want to edit everything in a document. You certainly have to pick your battles.
Yes.
There are certain points that you can negotiate, and you should protect your boundaries and your time. And like, for example, my business partner that I teach one of my courses with is a surgeon, and she says Tuesday and Wednesday nights, I don't take call. And that needs to be woven in, right? I don't take call Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I'm not hurting my partners because I'm actually taking plenty of other call and I'm sharing it, but I preserve these nights.
Yep.
And you
Up
can't,
front.
and men do it. I'm telling you, my men clients have no problem preserving their boundaries, but women are always extending past our boundaries, and we got to start setting them.
Yep. And then we're burned out, and then we're called bitches, and then we're called when we start getting angry about it. And why not just at the beginning negotiate that thing? Just negotiate it from the beginning. And this is your why. Why am I here? What do I want out of this? All those kinds of things that we talk about when we start talking about investing off Wall Street is also the very same things you have to think about when you're going into your practice. What do I want out of this? Why am I here? Is money the most important thing? Is my time the most important thing? What am I willing to give? And what do I want for that thing that I'm giving? Those are just like huge things that we never learn. We think we got to just take whatever's given to us.
Well, and I mean, doctors are, very caring, loving people. And the conflict is very difficult for a lot of physicians. I get it. I mean, it's not difficult for me because I do it for a living, but it's difficult for them. And so one thing I have to teach them is you have to be ruthless with that negotiation because you got one shot. And you cannot listen to someone that says, oh, don't worry about it. We'll work with you afterwards. We're going to reset that salary in 6 months, or we're going to not hold that non-compete against you, or we'll work. That person might not work there in 6 months. And even if they do, I've seen it time and time again, heartbreaking stories, about my retinal surgeon who they said, we've never in 30 years held a doctor to a non-compete. It's just there because our lawyers drafted that lengthy thing and we keep it consistent. Everybody has signed it. Right. Guilt. Women going, okay, I guess I'll just
everybody else did it. I guess let's just sign it. Yeah.
And then the minute she left, they held her to non-compete. They hid behind their lawyer and she's devastated, right? They lied to me. Well, there's nothing I could do about it now because you've already signed it and you didn't stand up for yourself. So you can't believe the assurances. What you sign and those words matter, just like the interest rate on a note. They are what they are. And so you got to go in there and be ruthless. But you don't have to act like a bitch.
Yes.
You don't have to go in and say, I demand this, I'm worth it. You go in and you say, I'm, really appreciative. This is a great opportunity, but these are the terms that it's going to take. And these are always look at it like the other side, just like when it's negotiation. What is in it for them? And to paint yourself as the most amazing fit for them and someone that they really need. And then they start negotiating with you.
Yes. Another thing that besides we don't negotiate is, well, we'll just get a different doctor to come. Their doctors are a dime a dozen is kind of the thought that a lot of physicians have is like, they'll just get another urologist. So they'll just get another general surgeon. They don't really need me. How do we get past that mindset?
It is so hard in today's world, especially post-COVID. If you have a solid doctor, and I mean, it's a sales job. I'm not going to lie. When you're getting a job, you're selling yourself just like they're selling their services to you. So if you're in an interview or if you're trying to pitch yourself for a job, think about what the employer wants. They want to know you're loyal, that you're going to be invested, that you're going to have great relationships with people, you're going to get along, you're going to be a fit for them. That's the person that you sell to them. And you explain to them. And trust me, those people aren't a dime a dozen. There's a lot of jerks. There's a lot of transient doctors that want to just do locums, get in, get out. The
Yep.
fact that you're pitching yourself as this like, I'm coming here because I want to invest my time in this community. I have a lot of catchphrase that I
Yeah.
use, I want to root myself in this community. This is a great fit, culturally for me. This town is somewhere I really want to live. That's like, man, you're stroking all the ego points. You're like, whoa, this is the doctor that we really want.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they want you so badly because there's not a lot of you, right? There's no one like you. And if I can just get my doctors to get to that point where they realize I am very unique,
Yes.
and they do it, I'm a great asset for them and I am worth it, then they're going to go in there a little stronger. And even if you put it in your head, you're going to act that way in an interview. Like you can't go in sort of apologizing for sitting there
Yes.
and thinking that you're just a widget, because if you went through this much training and you have a decent personality, like you're already ahead of the game.
Yeah. I think what you just said about being a widget that's one of the biggest issues, is that we feel like we're a dime a dozen, even though, like, for example, I've been a urologist for 30 years. I'm good with patients. Staff tend to like me. Sometimes I can be a little bitchy, but it's usually deserved.
Oh, women in power, get used to it.
But I would never, up to recently, think of those things as leverage points. And I think it's very important. Now I'm going to switch a little bit to negotiating with insurance companies, because that's a whole nother level of negotiation, where they always say, we don't negotiate. Here's the contract. You're going to take what we pay you into conversation. Is that a negotiable?
That's a completely different type of negotiation. They don't care how great you are. I'm not gonna lie. You don't make that. They're getting a job is very different from negotiating with the payer.
Right.
I mean, a lot of times payers are like, it is what it is, take it or leave it. There's a few things you can negotiate in the contract, very minor, kind of like, hey, you're not going to get free documents from me forever. You have to, if there's a limit on things that I'm going to provide you, that stuff's negotiable. But most of the time, no. So the smartest thing you can do if you want more money is to link up with, like an ACO or an independent physician group or somewhere where you have more, power as a group to be able to leverage for more money. If you're an individual doctor, the best thing you could do, again, it's always about thinking like the other side, even with an insurance company, right? Because if you argue to that insurance company, I'm the only urologist in this rural area. Okay. If I'm out of network, what are your people going to do? What are they going to do? Like, you have to still find some leverage. I am the person in this community, and the rates that you're paying me are nothing. And so I'm not going to accept this contract, and I'll go work for somebody else in another area, and these people are going to be out. So what about your members? Do you not care that they have an in-network urologist? So, there's some leverage you can make there. But again, you have to look at it from their perspective.
Yeah.
Because insurance companies, I'm biased, but I think they're like the mafia. I'm not an insurance company fan. They only are about money. They don't care about patients. So you have to make it about the money. It's going to cost you more because all of your members are going to go out of network for this. So you are going to pay more. So you might as well give me better rates so I can be a network, just as an example. But payer contracts are hard. If you can link up and, if your group is bigger and now you have more market share and more power, then you have more leverage. That's just the way it is.
Okay. So I think what I heard is the way you negotiate depends on who you're negotiating with.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. If you're looking at it from the other person's perspective, what is their underlying motive?
Yeah.
Insurance company, it's money, it's their market, it's, their members. Employer is they want a good doctor that's not going to bail on them and steal all their patients. You're negotiating with a business. It's all about bottom line. What are they looking for? And you try to match that. And that's how you get movement when you negotiate.
That's great. That's really good. I kind of feel like we're talking about regular fee for service. And I know quite a few people who work for big organizations who are looking at this who I've actually talked to and think there's no way to negotiate that. And one of my friends I recently talked to and said, no, who is really good at seeing how good she is at something. And I'm the only one doing this here, and took it to them. And at first it was, no, we don't do that. We don't do that. And it didn't take that long, maybe a month of her keep poking before she got her salary increased. So it's possible everywhere that this can happen, even places where they say, no, this is what we pay starting OBGYNs. We pay them this, and that's all you can get. And you're like, okay, well, these are the things I bring to the table
every day. So I don't buy it. And I think that's part of the battle is we've got to demystify this stuff. Stop listening to people that say there's never, or it's impossible, or it's so, it doesn't happen. I mean, power in numbers, guys. If you're a department, let's say you're a neurologist and the whole neurology department, they're going to rebase the RVUs and all of a sudden you're getting a pay cut. No, you go together and you're like, our department's getting screwed. This is, this RVU rate, I'm making stuff. I mean, different comp models out there, but this RVU rate's $45 an RVU. That's 40% of MGMA, and we are 10-year experienced, powerful physician group. And if we left, you'd be screwed. So 55 per RVU is the minimum that we need to get paid. And we're going to band together and we're going to push for it. I would be hard pressed to say you're not going to get it. You're going to get it because you go in together, you argue as a mass, you have great counsel. I mean, you don't go in and ask like, is it possible? Perhaps. Oh no. Okay. And then you just keep going. You have to say, this is unacceptable and it's not market. And you put the facts behind it. You go find the MGMA numbers. You come to them and you look at the dollars. My salary is 35% of MGMA and I'm a 15-year trained surgeon. That is not okay.
Yeah.
I will not work for that. I need 70% of MGMA. And this is what you should rebase these numbers to. And even if you fall somewhere in the middle, I mean, heck, you just gotta,
you got improvement. And the likelihood. So I think many people, I felt myself getting a little fear of like, what if they say, no, I'm not going to do that. And so that fear of rejection, that fear of I'm actually kind of giving you an ultimatum that if I don't get this, even if you don't expressly say, if I don't get this, I'm leaving, because sometimes you might say that, you can feel like they're going to just let me go and then I've got to go start over somewhere else. How do you get past that kind of thing?
Well, that's what's good about having power in numbers. And like, especially if you go in with a couple of different surgeons in the group and you're really powerful part of the group. Yeah, you don't want to march in with a bunch of ultimatums, but I think that does the system, even big systems, do they want their physicians to be disgruntled or do they want them to be really pleased and be team players? Yeah. And again, going positive, that's my mantra, right? Is to say, we want to be the leading urology group within this system. We want to be the best anesthesiologist so that you get patient satisfaction scores out the wazoo. We want to make you look good. Okay. But you also have to treat us not like widgets. You have to treat us like the professionals that we are and pay us market value. And if you go back, it's really hard to argue, that they're being reasonable if you point to the actual data. I always say, do your homework when you negotiate. Don't go in and be like, we think we need a raise because it's not enough money, because my buddy makes more. No, you look like an idiot. You go in though and you say, you're paying me 40% of MGMA and that sucks. Then they're going to go, oh, we did. Sometimes, to be honest with you, they don't even realize it. Yeah. It's actually educational for them to say, oh, I don't think we even realized it had gotten to that. Yeah. Market has changed and we need to do a rebase. And a lot of times management, it's always the enemy, right? Doctors are admin or ivory tower. But sometimes, they do want their doctors to be happy in the system. So you'd be surprised if you go at the right approach. And I ghostwrite all the time. Use your support, use lawyers, not go fight your big battles with big swords. Nobody has to know your lawyer exists. But sometimes you can have your lawyer create emails for you that are more, that express your opinion better. Just like if you have like a board complaint, don't go march off and send some defensive letter. Get someone to read it for tone, make you look better. Like we all exist. I'm like an IT department, right? I just exist to help you when you need help. And lawyer doesn't have to go in and be the spokesman. So that's something that doctors, it's like an aha moment, like what? I can use a lawyer just to help me craft an argument and get what I want without even knowing you are alive. That is amazing.
Yes. We talk about it all the time, you guys, having your team, having an attorney on your team, whether you're doing a real estate negotiation or you're doing a practice negotiation, a salary negotiation, that person on your team, whether anybody else knows they're there or not, is key because you need that. I call it that confidence. I mean, you would make me feel so good just to know, okay, what I'm saying makes sense. Because sometimes it's just a matter of, am I crazy? Does this even make sense? And I have my conversation with Amanda and she goes, yeah, that 100% makes sense. Okay, good. How do I express that? And then you could help me get that done.
Well, a problem, especially with female physicians, is you're always, and especially in your position, you're dealing with, you have a lot of things against you. You're doing, I'm a female, or I'm a certain age, or I'm a woman of color, and you're like already fighting all these obstacles. I think the instinct is to be like, I don't want to push it. I don't want to ask for too much. And so you keep making yourself smaller. And you also don't want to admit what you don't know. Doctors are very smart. You figure stuff out. You can Google stuff like a boss. So you don't want to admit, I don't really understand what these words mean, Amanda. Like, so you need to have someone in your corner, I don't care who it is, that you trust, that's confidential, that you can call and go, I mean, I've had the most esteemed, most, $1 million salary doctors call me sobbing. And they need a safe place to say, I don't understand this. This is 29 pages of junk and it looks like Greek and I don't know what I'm signing and I don't know what I'm getting into. And or maybe even I made a mistake and I need to get out of it. So you've got to have someone in your corner that you can be vulnerable around. You can say, I don't know what this means. Can you explain it to me? You don't want to get on your Facebook pages and look dumb. You don't want to say, guys, this looks like a nightmare. I don't know what this is. I just signed it, because you don't want to feel foolish.
Yeah.
So you've got to have people like your family, your safe place, your lawyer, your confident, your therapist, people that you can feel safe around. And you just have to have it in this profession. It's too hard. And because your pride gets involved, you make mistakes that can really hurt you.
Yeah.
And again, issue spotting is number one. If you're going to get into a side deal because you want extra money and you're told at conferences that you got to get a side hustle, and you get in the wrong side hustle, that has criminal penalties, and all of a sudden CBS News is calling you. We got
So that was going to be my next question is, when's the best time to have your attorney partner on your team? Do you start right out of residency, knowing who you can call and what that kind of thing? Do you pay a retainer? How does that work? When is the best time to have that person on your team and know who you're calling if I get into this?
Well, okay. So surely, you need help navigating your big contracts, like your employment contract. But a lot of doctors are like, all right, did that, hired a lawyer once, paid an hour, I'm done. Now I'm going to go about my career. And so if you're signing medical directorships, those seem very standard, right? Why would I get my lawyer to sign to advise me on this? It's a medical directorship. However, just to give an example, I talked to one of my clients who's driving a Ferrari. It was awesome. And I was like, well, how did you have this time on your hands? Because you have how many medical directorship agreements? He said 5. I said, you have 5 medical directorship agreements with home health and hospice companies. You do nothing. You don't round on patients. You don't review their protocols. You're not turning in logs. So that's fraud. Like, they want your referrals. Okay. You're an ortho, you're in a certain specialty, amen, ortho, lots of different specs that want you to send your people there, and they want business back and forth. This is a referral problem. And he didn't realize that. He said, well, everybody does medical director. I go, yes, but you should be keeping a log and you should be rounding and you should be doing actual work for that $1,500 a month. It doesn't just arrive in your bank account like free money. So anytime you're a doctor and you get some deal that seems wrong, like something seems like too good to be true about this, something should raise on the back of your head to go, there's some hair standing up. I'm going to get my lawyer to review it. Be liberal with getting review on these side deals, because and I know lawyers are expensive, but it is worth having someone look at that to say, hey, this is not a good deal. Because 2 times this last, couple of months, I've had doctors call me and they said, this seemed legitimate. And now I feel like a complete fool, admitting it. But at the time, it seemed completely legitimate. And I signed up and I was trying to be helpful. And I didn't know it was a fraud scam. I really didn't. And now they're dealing with paying the government back. I mean, it's a nightmare. And this poor doctor who, real quick example, just to kind of show you how easy it is to fall into. Yeah. So she's family practice. She has elderly parents who have diabetes. And so it's hard for them to monitor their sugars. They don't understand the complexity of it all. So this company came to her and said, we do remote patient monitoring, glucose testing. So we take the device, we mail it to the people that need it. We have nurse practitioners that come and check on them every week. It's this great system. We can check their glucose. It saves their limbs and lives. And this doctor, was like, this sounds amazing. This would have been great if my parents had this. And they're like, we need you to write the script so then we can start the process and then we can get the nurse practitioner involved, send them the stuff. The whole thing was a scam. Felicia, like the whole thing was a scam. They were in China. Like, it was not a thing. There was no nurse practitioner. There was no remote patient monitoring devices. She was so suffered. These aren't like rinky-dink people in like a wrinkled suit that pop into your office. Like, this is a legitimate con job. And my doctor was, all of a sudden, she was like, wow, why are there so many scripts? And she started getting paid $10,000 a month, $20,000 a month. Then she was like, something seems wrong, right? And then tried to stop it. And by that point, the government was already involved. She now had, $100,000 that she had been paid because we had to unravel this nightmare. And if we had just started from that beginning, and I was like, something's wrong about this, and we could have, she could have just said, no, thank you, and found a different deal. That was it. But it was a nightmare. And, she just, at the end of it was like, I want to move to Hawaii. I don't even want to be a doctor anymore. Like, I'm done. And we have to save our healers. I'm so passionate about it. We cannot let these doctors get in this situation because we're not going to have anybody left.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to want to be in this profession if it's like a gotcha all the time. Doctors are falling prey for this. And it's my personal mission to try to educate doctors. And so they don't get in these scenarios.
That sounds awful. So I don't know if that woman's listening, but I'm so sorry that happened to you. Oh my gosh.
Horrible.
I actually have a friend who served a little bit of time because I think she got mixed into a thing, kind of not exactly, it wasn't diabetes, but it was about pain control and pain management. And it sounded like a nightmare.
Here's the deal. We need to tell our doctors also, like, don't turn to like suicide over this. Like, there's always a way out. There was one doctor who got involved in like a drug rehab facility because his brother was an addict. He had his heart for addicts. So he signed his deal, realized that there was not a legitimate, rehab facility, and they were just wanting his referrals and wanting his prescriptions. We discovered it. We fixed it. We got him out. And like, there's always a way out. That's another thing that I really want to hear. Suicide in lawyers and doctors is huge. We've got to say, there is a solution. It might hurt a little bit and it might be expensive, but we're going to get you through it. So don't hide. A lot of other doctors, it's strange, they just bury their head. Oh, well, I'm just going to, like, I don't need to tell anybody about that. I'll just stop doing it and everything's going to be fine. I'm like, well, man, we got to now report this and make sure we take care of it. And that is not fun, but we can get through it.
That's the thing. That's a big thing to me is like, yes, once you've made a mistake, you have to work it through. Don't bury your head. It is painful. It's embarrassing. It's financially painful. It's emotionally painful. It's all those things, but it's a temporary thing. Once you get through that, you look back and you're like, okay, well, what did I learn? And you can keep going forward. I 100% agree. It's same thing with real estate investing. I've made some big mistakes. It costs a lot of money, emotional pain associated with it. And I mean, I could still be stuck back in there. Got to go and have the people that you need on your team to help you get through it. This is what we talked about before. Where can you be vulnerable? You might not want to tell your mom and dad or your kids or whoever, all those other folks, but you got an Amanda on your team that you can go in her office and cry and then walk out and put your face back on.
Paint your face back up, girl. Get her out there. I will also say that, like, it's just money. And I know money is painful to lose. It really is. We've all made financial investments. We're like, okay, well, that one didn't pan out. And it can be costly. And when I have a doctor that takes a big hit, I'm like, yep, that was $100,000 hit. It's not nothing. I understand that. But you're going to make it back. And you're going to make it out of this hole. And you will look forward to being an example for the people. You got to have purpose for these mistakes. You have to learn from them and say, I'm going to teach other people not to do it. Or this is going to be a lesson for me to get through adversity. So if you can't learn from these and if you can't go through them, you get stuck in them forever and you get bitter and angry and it eats at you and you have to let that, it's just money. And I had a doctor, so she was caught and I'm going to send her this when we're done because we're dear friends now. She got caught in a bad management company arrangement, right? Where she was like, I don't want to deal with this nightmare of running a practice. I just want to be a urologist. I just want to do my thing. So someone else managed her practice. Well, it was someone that was crooked and took advantage of her and like sucked all the money out. And it was this horrible situation. It was like 10 years, like no way out of this contract. And she came to me like, I'm hopeless. Like I'm stuck and there's no way out. And my answer is always, there is always a way out.
Yes.
There's always a way out. Anyway, when we ended up, it was expensive. I had a lot of legal fees, but when we got her out of that, she said, I feel free. I feel free, but I'm not stuck in this mire anymore. Never again, Yeah. That is valuable. There's no amount of money you can put on that.
I 100% agree. And I know there's people out there going, what do you mean it's just money? It is just money. You make so much of it every day and there's so much flying around. I mean, my whole thing is the only thing you can't get back is time. The only thing you cannot get back is time. So stop wasting it. Stop wasting your time. Get your money and get your mind around your money and do what you have to do to be at peace with whatever the heck is going on in your life. I love that so much. It is just money. It's not your kids. It's not your
numbers on a spreadsheet at the end of the day, be like, so it went down. Okay. So your retirement, you had to dip into like, you have to move on from it because luckily you are in a profession that has a high earning potential, right? It's not that you spend all your income and you are a minimum wage worker. You
Yes.
have the ability to make it back in spades. So you make better investment decisions, you make that back, and then you're recovered. So it's really hard to get through those hits. And also, I've had doctors call me and say, I don't really know how to say this, but I got greedy and I invested in this thing that I shouldn't have, or I took this money and I knew it was wrong. And it was like embezzlement-ish.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, you're admitting it. That's great. We're going to start from there. Good job.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna correct this problem and we're gonna make sure that you fix it and we get back. But you got to admit it. That's the first step. Is like, I made this bad decision, and you don't make it worse. You don't dig your heels in. You don't keep putting dirt on top of the hole and hopefully no one notices. You got to get out of it. I mean, this seems like basic stuff, but this is what I hear every day.
Oh, it is basic stuff, but our egos get in the way and keep us from doing the thing that we know is the right thing to do. And it's going to cost me so much money, or it's like the right thing is always the right thing. That's the bottom line. It is the right thing. And if you don't know, if you're questioning what's the right thing, that's another reason to talk to an attorney about it. So
and sometimes it's not a legal answer. Like, I had a doctor come to me and she's like, I'm burned out. I'm done. I have kids in high school. I don't want to miss it. I'm not getting enough vacation time. I'm not getting paid enough. I just need out of this job. I work all the time, at her wits freaking end.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, you're right. You're done here. Let's figure out another type of job that works better for you. So what did she do? She left one busy system and got an offer from the exact type of job, same type of work, same scenario with a raise. And I go, you just told me you want to spend more time with your kids and you want to have more freedom and you're dying. And why would you go work here? They're paying you more. They're going to expect the same or more out of you. And I said, you don't need to negotiate for more money. And she was like, yes, but they give me one extra vacation time. I go, yeah, but your RVU expectations are higher. You're going to have to work more and you're not going to take that extra week. Mm. So you're not thinking clearly. You need to get out of this environment and get into a different type of job. It works better for you. And it was like mind blowing. So she was waiting for me to edit her contract. And I was like, you're missing the forest from the trees. I can edit this contract for you, but that's not what you need. What you need is not apples to another apple. You need an orange. Go look for an orange. So I think that was eye-opening. And I think you need to sit down and say, it's not about the money. What's going to say this insurance company is the same as that one? They're all the same. Yeah. This hospital system and that hospital, they all are in it for the same reasons. Yeah. So break the mold and get with a blank sheet of paper and start writing down what's important to you and what type of job fits that.
Yeah. I'm going to stop right there because I love that right there. Figure out your why, figure out what you want. Write it down and look for that. Don't try to make a system fit what you want. Look for the system that works with you. Yes. I love it so much. Amanda, how do people get in touch with you?
Well, go to guardmypractice.com. I'd love for you to sign up for one of my courses. I consider all my clients like my children, so I'm here for you if you need me. But I have courses out there to teach you these things. I always say, I don't want to be your lawyer. I just want to teach you. So, it's nationwide. Go sign up for it. But otherwise, I just love being on this podcast. Thank you for this opportunity to help get this education out there.
This was really good. I like your website because there's stuff on there that you need. There's courses on there that's going to teach you so much about, even if you don't think you need it, just go take a risk. It's just money. And it's not even a lot of money to learn the things that Amanda's learned over the past 20 years so that you can learn when you need her. I love it so much. Get in there.
And it's all CME. So you get it reimbursed by your employers. You have nothing to lose. So go do it. Submit it for reimbursement. Done.
You heard that right? CMEs.
Done. No brainer.
I'm going right now because I need some CMEs.
Get your CMEs. I went through a long process to become some CME certified provider. So make it all worth my time. So go get them.
I love it. Amanda, thank you so much for coming on, you guys. This was really good. Now we know there are ways to make our practices better, and so that you're living in a thing that you really like, and then you can get your multiple streams of income from your real estate investing, your off Wall Street investing. Life just gets better and better and better and better, and we need good physicians staying in there. We can't all quit because somebody's got to do the work. We've got to have good people in there doing the work, and the good people are leaving, and that's got to change. Thanks so much. See you next time. Thanks, Amanda.
Bye.
You've been listening to Money with Mission. There are projects happening right now. where you can have a great financial return while positively affecting the lives of others. To learn more about our opportunities, go to moneywithmission.com.